Hey everyone, Simon here from Top Tennis Training, and in this video we're going to study the Stan Wawrinka one-handed backhand. We're going to take a closer look at his stroke and exactly what he does that makes it so good. So the first thing to discuss is his grip. So he uses an Eastern backhand grip on that backhand. Eastern backhand grip is the best way for you to deal with high balls, medium range balls and the low balls. So the Eastern backhand grip is very easy to find. All you have to do is place your knuckles on the side of the frame like so and slide your hand until it's on the grip. So the first step in Stan Wawrinka's backhand is as soon as he recognizes it's coming to that side, he has a great unit turn as quickly as possible. Now he has one of the best preparations for the one-handed backhand on the tour, and this early unit turn, this early coil with the upper body creates time. If you're someone who stands front on and you wait for the ball to come to you, almost bouncing on your side, and then you have that unit turn, you're always going to be late in getting to a good power position, having a full swing, but also you're going to be late on the contact point. Now because Stan has such an early unit turn, it sets him up well for the rest of the stroke. Now from the ready position, especially if you're holding a forehand grip, from this position now, if you recognize it's coming to your backhand and your first step is quickly changing the grip, but along with changing the grip, coiling this right shoulder if you're a right-handed player. So ready position, coil. As soon as you turn that body, as soon as you turn the shoulders from this ready position to this side-on position, you can see that my racket's already started that preparation. I'm almost halfway through my preparation just from that unit turn. So this early preparation is key, and this is one of the reasons why Stan has such a good backhand, because he always has time on that shot. Now something else to note in the preparation phase is that Stan has the racket head completely above the grip when he starts that swing. So very often we'll see club level players, they'll take the racket back and the racket head will be just above the grip, or even sometimes on the same level, so they'll be going back like so. Now this is creating no space to accelerate that racket and no leverage in the arm and the racket head. Now what Stan does is lifts the racket up from the very start of the swing, and you'll see that the racket head is completely above the grip. This creates a lot of leverage in that racket and that wrist. Leverage will translate to more force over the ball later in the swing. Now by lifting, he also creates more space for the racket head to travel from the start position all the way to the contact point. If he takes it back like this, the distance I can accelerate from here to the contact point is extremely limited. Whereas by lifting the racket head, I'm creating more space to accelerate that racket without having to swing too much with my arm. Now sometimes you'll also see that Stan doesn't have the racket directly above the grip like so. He'll actually have the racket in this position where the strings are tilted. The tip of the racket is almost pointing down the court slightly. And this is almost like the next generation forehand. The players that we see like Dominic Thiem, they start the forehand like so, Nick Kyrgios, with the tip of the racket pointing towards the opponent, and this creates that extra space to accelerate. The same thing on that one-handed backhand. Instead of being in that position, sometimes we'll see Stan in that position. So the tip of the racket is ever so slightly pointing towards the front of the court. So he's in that position here. Another important thing to note in this preparation is that his right elbow, his hitting arm, the elbow is bent. It's not extended fully. A lot of club players, they'll start the preparation with a straight arm right from the start of the stroke. So they'll do this. They've either been taught to have an extended arm at contact, or they feel like this gives them more power. Now by straightening the arm very early, you're creating stiffness in the muscles, especially the tricep muscle. So you're creating tension, you're creating that tight feeling. But by having it relaxed like Stan, with the elbow bent, later on the swing when he extends out all the way, he has that extension power from the tricep muscles, but he also has that relaxation that looseness that we want to feel when we're hitting that stroke. So don't feel like you're straightening the arm too early. You can be relaxed, you can be loose, but I'm creating leverage in this position here, and later on I can extend all the way out. Now in this preparation phase, he's also using the non-hitting hand, the left hand, to hold the throat of the racket. Now what this left hand is doing is it helps to initiate that shoulder turn, it helps to really get that fast coil with the upper body, but it also takes the tension away from this right hand. If I put my left hand behind my back and I was to hit backhands like so, the weight of the racket is being supported by my muscles of the wrist in my hitting arm and by the muscles in the forearm. So I'm holding the racket in this position, I'm creating that same position that Stan has on that backhand, but I'm tighter. There's more stiffness, there's more tension in the muscles, so I'm not loose. Whereas by holding the throat like so, the whole weight of the racket can be supported with your non-hitting hand, and this hand can be very relaxed, very loose. So in that preparation phase, this non-hitting hand plays a vital role in Stan Wawrinka's backhand, and it should do the same for your backhand. So when you are preparing, you're getting that unit turn, you're feeling that the racket head is higher than the grip, but you're also feeling that the weight of the racket is being supported by this non-hitting hand, which will help this hand to stay relaxed, but will also help you to get into a very good power position, which is the next step to Wawrinka's backhand. He reaches a perfect power position on that one-handed backhand. So traditionally, players will go from this ready position into this back position, where the racket head and the grip are almost level. Now if I have my racket in this position, the most common thing that players will do is they'll take the racket behind their body's line, and they'll take it far behind the body's line, and then they'll end up hitting the ball late. So they want to have that space to accelerate, and from here they simply don't have that space. So instead of staying in that position, they'll come further around and they'll end up behind the back, but very far behind the back, and when they rotate and hitting the shot, they're making contact late and they always feel rushed on that shot. A common thing that I see players doing is being in that position and hitting the ball and falling off the shot because they are making contact late. With Stan, he reaches a position similar to this, where the top of the racket is pointing up to the sky, his racket head is much higher than the grip level of course, but his racket head is almost at head level, his actual head. So he isn't down here, but he's up here. This creates a lot of space, a lot of distance from this position now to the contact point. So he has a lot of distance to start that acceleration, but he also has that leverage, that force in the wrist and the racket. Now his left hand is still working in this position. A common thing that a lot of players will do is they'll reach this position, take this hand off, and then swing independently just with their hitting hand. Whereas with Stan, he'll use this left hand until the racket has dropped. It's dropped behind the body. From this position, he has that drop. His left hand is still holding the racket, which will help him to easily maneuver the racket head and manipulate the strings. If he wants to change the angle of the strings, this left hand will help in that preparation phase. So when you do reach your power position, you're looking to do three main things. The first thing is to have the racket head higher than the grip, so you have that space to accelerate. The second thing is that your non-hitting hand is holding the throat of the racket, and the elbow of the non-hitting hand might be at shoulder level. This will help you really lift that racket head in that back position. You also want to feel that you're almost touching your right shoulder with your chin. So I'm looking at the ball over my right shoulder. From this position now, I'm really set up well to accelerate and really rip that shot. Another thing to note in this back position is that his body weight is on the back leg most of the time. So he tries to load up on this back leg, the left leg, and then he'll have this heel to toe action with the front foot. So in the power position, he'll be here, then he loads on the back leg, and then he transfers during the contact zone onto the front foot using that heel to toe action. He has a great weight shift during the contact zone. So from this position here, he's now stepping forward with the right leg, but the left leg has loaded. He's got the body weight on his back leg, and as he starts the forward phase, he'll do that weight shift onto the front foot, and this will help him really put his body weight behind that shot. So next time you're working on your one-handed backhand, feel that this non-hitting hand, your top hand, is really involved in the stroke. It's helping that preparation phase, it's helping you lift that racket head higher in the grip, but it's also holding the throat until the lag position. So it's holding the throat from here. I'm taking the racket now back behind me, just like Stan does, and eventually I reach a position similar to this. This is where I now take off my left hand. So my left hand will come off the racket, and I'll be pointing the bottom of the racket, the butt cap of the racket, towards the oncoming ball, almost as if I was going to hit the ball with this part of my racket. So I've come to this position, I've dropped the racket head, it's gone behind my left leg slightly, or behind my left hip in this position, and from here I'm now coming forward with this racket lag. But my left hand has come off. So this will really help you to feel that support with that top hand. If you take it off too early, you're swinging independently with that one hand, there's going to be tension in that hitting arm. You want to feel relaxed, you want to feel loose, and you want to feel like you can manipulate the strings very quickly if you want to change the angle of the strings. Now from this position, Stan will extend out towards the contact point. This is where this elbow extension really kicks in. So from this position here, he's extending out to make contact in front of his body, and you'll notice that he's not hitting the ball away from him, so he's behind the ball so that he can have that weight shift from the back leg to the front leg. If my contact point is over here, I can't have that weight shift. So by getting directly behind the ball, I can actually go back leg to front leg. Now from this position, if someone was to push my racket, I feel very stable, very strong in that position. Whereas over here, I feel no strength. I'm supporting my racket solely by my wrist, and this won't work against stronger players. Now at the contact point, you'll notice that the palm is facing down to the court, so the knuckles are pointing up. As he makes contact now, this left hand is still behind his, almost like it's in his left pocket. It's in that position here, and from here, he'll extend out towards his target, but he'll also open up the strings. So the strings will be going from this position here to a position similar to this. Where the palm has now opened up to the sky. So he's gone from palm down to palm up. And this is very much like the windshield wiper motion on the forehand. We have the palm facing up to the sky in that position, and as we make contact, the windshield wiper effect takes place, and it goes from here across the body. So he's going from this side to this side. Same thing on that one-handed backhand. You're going from this side with a racket, making contact, brushing up, and then the palm is opening up. Now Stan has a good extension on that backhand. He doesn't use his left hand as much as someone like a Federer, who will almost touch hands behind their back. He will have his left hand close to his left hip, and as he makes contact, he keeps that position. This will stop his left shoulder from opening up too early. This will stop this from happening. By keeping that left hand, he's able to stay side on and balanced in that position. Now something else that Stan does really well is he allows his hips to open after contact. Now a lot of players on the one-handers, they'll hit the shot and stay like this in that position. So they're closed off from rotating the hips. Whereas with Stan, he'll really allow his hips to open up just after contact, and this becomes almost like a two-handed backhand shot. When you see a player like Agassi or Djokovic, when they make contact, they don't stay in this position, they allow this rotation of the hips to occur. So they're allowing this to happen so that they can really rip the shot and unload with that coil and that uncoil during the contact point. This is the same thing that Wawrinka does. He sets up really well, he's side on here, but as he makes contact, he'll allow that back hip to open up. And his back leg will then follow, and he'll have that easy recovery because his feet are in alignment. So he's going from this position to here, and then he can push back into a good position. So this release of the hips allows him to really unload on that shot much more than someone who stays like this all the way through the shot. So a brief overview, we have Wawrinka using the Eastern backhand grip, slightly modified. He has a really good unit turn at the start of the swing. He coils the upper body and he turns this right shoulder towards the net. He does this as quickly as he can and as early as possible, which creates time. He has the racket head higher than the grip level when he's preparing that shot. He has a bent elbow and he reaches a great power position. From this position he loads up on the back leg whenever time permits, and he then has that weight shift as he's coming forward using that heel to toe action. He makes contact in front of his body, he allows this hand to release, but he also releases this left hip whenever he has a chance and whenever he has a ball that's a little bit slower. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something new, something that you can implement into your own one-handed backhand. Now if you have, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you get our latest videos as soon as we release them. Now if you're simply a subscriber but haven't turned on the bell, then YouTube won't give you a notification when we release our latest videos. So turn on that bell right away so you get our latest videos as soon as we release them. Signing off, Simon from TTT. All the best and see you soon.